Hi, my name's Alex. I'm a university STEM student, and I wanted to find out what it'd be like if I tried to spend my final year of university also learning to draw. What would it be like to transition between the totally different worlds of STEM and art? You see, I'd often suspected that STEM students had developed some of the skills which artists actually rely on, like 3D visualization and creative thinking. For instance, in organic chemistry, we were expected to know that a 2D molecule like this actually looks like this in 3D. So I was interested to find out what kind of results I could expect after 1 year and what this process would look like. Okay, so drawing number one, and apologies for like total change of clothes here, guys. It's a new day. I'll put the reference up. So this is supposed to be Billy from Stranger Things, and I think it's safe to say I've been quickly humbled here, guys, because I mean this thing is as flat as a pancake, or as plainer as CO2, as a chemist would like to say. We don't really say that, but I'm saying it. And clearly I needed to do some research into what models you artists are using. So when I first started looking at the different methods which you artists are using, I got pretty confused. And, I discovered the Loomis method, the structural blocking, mass drawing, which is supposed to be like focusing on the edges, not focusing on the edges, like focusing on the tones of the drawing. Constructive drawing, this freaking thing called the Azaro head, which for some reason gives me the creeps.
Stewie, relax.
No, Brian, you keep that thing away from me. Is it looking at me? Can it see me?
And then like thrown on top of all of this, there are all these different types of like measurement, like, triangulation, like comparative measurement, all the different intricacies and complexities of value. And I was kind of confused as to where I should focus my energy in order to progress, right? And it was definitely a time of suffering. During this time of suffering, there was some hope, and I'm just sort of going to show some drawings here on the right as I talk that are show the progression of my drawing. And I apologize, a lot of these were just done on random scrap pieces of paper in the science library between revision sessions, and then I just kind of stuck them into my sketchbook. But anyway, during this time, I kind of really connected with this idea that, like drawing random lines and circles on the page, which weren't actually helping me to, construct the drawing, wasn't helpful, and it was just making the drawings worse and more confusing for me. And maybe there wasn't one single model of the head that was just going to solve all my problems, and once I'd learn, it was going to be like, okay, now I can just draw any portrait. And I definitely found this daunting, because starting with that blank page is really hard, and not having something or a model to cling onto was difficult for me, and it took a lot of adjustment. But at this time I was just really focused on observing the reference and this idea of trust your eyes because your brain lies, right? And I often found myself checking the angle of the cheek on the reference with my pencil to make sure that my eyes had seen it correctly. And you slowly start to build up these skills as you go. And for me at this time, the thing that was most helpful for me was just starting with a circle and then a brow line and a center line to get the tilt of the head. And I think if you're learning this, you might find that something else is working better for you. But just only doing what actually helps you, I found to be the best approach to this. And I think that you start to use some of these skills that we talk about, like triangulation and comparative measurement, naturally, right? So, as you're drawing, you start to ask yourself these questions like, okay, how wide is the face compared to the length of the nose, And then you do a bit more research and you learn, oh, actually, the face is split into thirds, and, that becomes something which you've learned, right? Because when you're using the things that you learn, that's how you remember them, right? So it's kind of like answering exam questions once you've done your revision. And sorry to compare art to exams, but that's just kind of how I see it. So kind of moving forward with this, so with these references or these drawings I'm showing now, I discovered this secret weapon of art, right? Which is the freaking blending stump. And this thing is sick, man. This thing took my my shading from just kind of looking unblended, right? To drawings like this. And Actually, another thing which I found really helpful as I was doing these drawings was using a biro. And, you know, a lot of the time this was just like out of necessity because I didn't bring a pencil to my study session in the library. So I just found myself drawing in pen. And I think like combining like drawing in pen with just observing your reference is like really powerful, because you're not constantly correcting yourself. And so although it's a harsh learning curve, you really start to like observe the reference really well. And you know, I kind of fell in love with this as a medium, to be honest. And I sort of, you know, started doing more and more of these pen drawings. And you know, I've also tried like you know, charcoal out, and I definitely watched, you know, some of the YouTube videos about how these guys are using it. But I think like sort of dipping your toes in with art with just pencil to start with, and then pen, and then, you know, exploring some of these harder things like charcoal is definitely the way to go. I think ultimately I learned that like as a beginner, you shouldn't worry about whether or not you're using the most efficient method or the most efficient model to improve your art. Like, you know, as long as you're doing the things which are just leading to your improvement, that's what's important. And, you know, maybe if you aren't improving, you change something about how you're drawing. Like for me, that was, you know, switching from the pencil to a pen, right?